If you're wondering what B-roll is, then this video is gonna explain everything that you need to know, and I've got 3 tips on how you can shoot better B-roll for your videos. So I've been getting this question over and over, and that is, what is B-roll? And so I wanted to put together a video that talks all about B-roll, just the basic idea of what B-roll is. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you 3 tips on how you can do some really awesome B-roll for your videos. Guys, if you're new here to this channel, my name is Jevin Dovey. I do filmmaking tutorials, camera reviews, YouTube training, and I just like going on adventures. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you like this video and you wanna see more content like this. So to explain B-roll, I'm just gonna break it down very simply at first. And I just finished shooting a conference down in San Diego. It was a fitness conference, and my production company was in charge of basically covering the event. It's a great way to explain what B-roll is versus A-roll. So at this conference, I was shooting a mix of interviews and then footage of the actual conference. And the difference between the two is that A-roll is like the main subject and the main story. On the other hand, B-roll is all the footage that basically stitches everything together. It's the glue that holds the entire project together. So B-roll is that extra footage. It's the footage that gives you a look more into what's going on around the specific subject. So to make this very simple, when I was at this conference shooting the event, the A-roll was the interviews. So that was going to each booth and talking with the different people at each of the booths. And that is A-roll. That is the main things that we needed to capture, was these interviews. Now the B-roll is all the footage that I captured of the booth without the interview. So to really break it down, A-roll is your most important footage. It would be like your interview or like your storyline, your talking bits. And then your B-roll is the sexy footage, the slow-mo, the different shots that really show what's going on. And so when you're working on a project, say you're working on a YouTube video, on a vlog, your A-roll is gonna be this. It's gonna be those moments when you're talking to camera, or if you're out vlogging, walking around, it's when you're talking to camera and basically moving the story forward. Your B-roll is all the extra footage. So if you're in a specific location and you're getting wide shots of the city, or you're getting like a drone shot or like a slow-mo shot of the food, whatever it is that you're doing, that is all the B-roll. So you need both. You need A-roll, you need B-roll, but your A-roll is like your main story bits, and the B-roll is actually a lot of fun to shoot, because once you start diving into different creative ways to shoot B-roll, you can also tell your story using B-roll. However, it's more in a visual sense rather than your A-roll, which a lot of times is the talking head bits. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, well, what about those videos where you don't have any talking, you don't have any interviews or anything like that? So if you see like a sexy cinematic video here on YouTube, a lot of times that's all B-roll footage with some music and effects to really tell the story. So you don't always have to have A-roll, and you also don't always have to have B-roll. It's just different ways to talk about the different styles of footage that you need to capture for a project. So if I was talking to you about shooting this video right now, I would say I need to shoot the A-roll, which is me talking to camera, this, and then I need to shoot the B-roll, which is all the samples of B-roll, along with some shots of the gimbal that I use to capture all of my B-roll. Right now, I'm using the Zhiyun Crane 3 Lab. That is the gimbal that I'm using to get this sexy cinematic smooth footage. And so right now, as you can see, I'm showing you B-roll of this gimbal. That is B-roll. Now, if you cut back to me, we're back to the A-roll. So B-roll is that added footage that enhances the story or enhances whatever that you're doing so that your viewer becomes more engaged with the content that you're creating. And it's also the footage that just shows more of what's going on. Okay, so I hope that was a clear enough distinction of what A-roll versus B-roll is. And if there's anything that you're still not understanding about what B-roll is versus A-roll, please go down in the comments and leave me a question. At the beginning of this video, I said I have 3 tips on how to get better B-roll. So my first tip is to make it smooth. And I mentioned a gimbal. So gimbals are a great tool to make footage smooth. And the one that I use is the Zhiyun Crane 3 Lab. It can hold much bigger cameras. So this gimbal works great in allowing me to get some awesome stable footage that you wouldn't be able to get just holding it in your hand. Now, I know a lot of you would say, well, there's cameras out there with stabilization. Yes, but a gimbal gives you those really cinematic motions, and it gives you the ability to kind of float through a scene. So gimbals are a really cool tool in getting awesome B-roll because it allows you to get that really smooth cinematic footage. Now, my second tip is get shallow depth of field. And what I mean by that is throw the background out of focus. So this all depends on the sensor size and the lenses that you're using. So if you're using a full frame camera, it's much easier to throw your background out of focus. With a micro four thirds, it's much harder to throw the background out of focus. So you have to have a wider open aperture, which means you have to have those lenses that go down to 1.4 or a 1.2, 0.95, and that allows you to get that shallow depth of field. More often than not, prime lenses are going to give you the ability to throw that background out of focus because they're going to have wider apertures. So if this is something that you really want to do, if you want to get shallow depth of field, think about finding prime lenses for your camera. And I suggest you go for the 35, 50, and the 85 for your prime lenses because that's a good set of primes that gives you a range of focal lengths, and you're gonna get that really shallow depth of field when you shoot it wide open. So smooth gimbal-like shots, shallow depth of field, and my third tip is shoot in slow motion. Things just look so much better when they're shot in slow motion. And a lot of cameras nowadays allow you to shoot up to 120 frames per second. So if you wanna get more cinematic looking footage, put it on a gimbal and add some movement, throw your background out of focus, and then add some slow motion to it so you really get that cinematic look to all the footage that you're shooting. These three things put together is gonna give you really awesome B-roll, and when you add that in with your A-roll, whatever it is that you're shooting, that's gonna give you those sequences that become very cinematic, and it gives you a whole different element to your video and just makes your production level look that much better. Guys, if you wanna learn more about cinematic sequences, I'll put a link down below in the description to a video I did all about that. It jumps off this video and gives you more insight into creating these sequences for whatever type of project that you're creating. And guys, one last thing before you go is that B-roll has more uses than just in your project. So for me personally, I like to sell all my B-roll as stock footage. Now, stock footage is a great way to diversify your income and bring another revenue stream into the content that you're already producing. So if you want to become successful on YouTube, one of the things I always say is you need to diversify your income. You can't just rely on ad revenue. You can't just rely on affiliate money. You kind of have to have your hands in multiple revenue streams to be able to be successful on this platform. So if you're gonna be shooting a lot of cinematic, sexy B-roll, then I highly suggest taking that B-roll and selling it as stock footage. The cool thing about stock footage is that it allows you to basically upload your content onto different stock footage platforms, and from there you can sell your shot for 20, 30, 40, up to even $100 or a couple $100 if you're selling 4K clips. And there's a lot of uses for B-roll, and it's one of those things for my production company. I go to stock footage agencies all the time and buy B-roll shots because me personally can't be everywhere at once, and there's a lot of times where I just need a couple shots for a video and I don't want to go out there and shoot it. And so that's the really important part about stock footage, is that you're basically filling the needs of all these people who are creating content from all over the world. So if you're gonna shoot awesome cinematic B-roll and you wanna make some extra money off of it, then I highly suggest checking out stock footage. And I'll put another video down below in the description that talks about the basics of stock footage. So I highly suggest that's another video to check out if that's something that you're interested in. And guys, last but not least, if you wanna check out more about the Zhiyun Crane 3 gimbal, it's the one I've been shooting with to get all this awesome B-roll footage, then I'll put a link down below in the description to where you can check that out as well. All right, guys, if you're new here to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. There's a lot of awesome filmmaking tutorials, camera reviews, and I also do some adventures around the world. All right, guys, that's it. I'll see you on the next one.